Okay, time to look at the internals. Again, both of these have been cleared, and there are no BBs. Power source is removed, so again, we're working in a safe manner. I'm going to start with the WE and go straight to the EMG. Standard Glock style disassembly. I have modified with some maple leaf. Is it maple leaf armories or just maple leaf hop unit and bucking? And the EMG is stock. It's a little bit harder to take apart. Okay, so let's look at the frame first. The frame looks like it would be compatible. Oops, I'm off camera. The frame looks like it would be compatible. It looks like it's WE spec. Again, WE's on the right hand side. I have again modified some parts, including the trigger bar, that gold piece in there. And in terms of the sear group, I've got a zero resistance zero resistance roller, so on the backstroke it has a lot less wear. I did have to polish this with some 1000 grit, well, work my way up to 1000 grit. I could polish it more, but honestly, wearing against this will take it down from 1000 grit plus polish down to something around 1000 grit. Either way, hammer unit seems stock. Hang on. And you can see why I'm having difficulties with the WE, and it needs some TLC. So I want to get the hammer to stick up and show the camera. On the EMG, we have a non-roller bearing style roller. Doesn't feel gritty, doesn't feel bad. It could be smoother, but it seems to be okay. In terms of the springs and everything else in here, it again looks identical to the WE. And I guess the ultimate test would be if I take an EMG slide and a WE slide, can I make them work in one another? Let's try. So again, no trickery on camera. I'm literally just swapping the parts. I am going to take a EMG magazine. No, I'm going to use the WE style magazine. There's a little less energy in these, which means if these parts aren't going to mesh well, it will do less damage. YOLO. And again, no BBs. Okay, misfire. Soft strike from the hammer. And it self-ejected the magazine. So some potential compatibility issues there. But it seems to work, and there's no damage. It could be a fitment issue, so I suppose since it's worked without harm there, let's put the EMG magazine in. The EMG magazine doesn't seem to want to sit quite flush, so there might be some slight differences. No problems with the EMG magazine. Alright, so now that I'm done exchanging slides from that to that, let's take the EMG Tier 1 Utility Compact slide and put it on a WE Glock 19, and I should probably put that hammer back. It does seem to work. Let's try the WE magazine first. Very soft, no energy behind it, and it doesn't want to seat properly here. You can see the magazine releases partially out, and I actually can't get that out. Alright then, and there is still gas in there. I'm going to have to take the base plate off in order to get this to seat properly. The magazine catch does go back all the way now. Lots of power there. But the magazine really doesn't want to come out. So Some minor fitment issues, maybe some slight differences between the magazines. Magazines are no worse for wear. And the slide appears, again, no worse for wear. So let's talk about the slides and do some disassembly here. EMG first. I've read about this being a huge annoyance, and I automatically agree. This threaded adapter and the thread guard are annoying. They are reverse threaded to one another, so that means that when you thread the adapter on to the barrel and tighten it there, it loosens the thread protector for the outer threads. And then vice versa, when you put this thread protector back on and then try and tighten the thread protector, it loosens the adapter from the barrel. I'm just going to thread lock one to another and call it a day. Either way, spring, guide, and follower. It's a very stiff spring, which feels good. And the fact that the spring is so stiff means that there must be more power behind the blowback unit. In terms of the outer and inner barrel, feels like it is aluminum. There's no steel really involved here. I've got little neodymium magnets. The only steel parts are the screws. Yeah, there's something in there that's steel. It's probably the hop-up arm. Oh, yeah, it is sticking to the hop-up arm right there. Probably can see it on camera, that steel hop-up arm. In terms of the barrel itself, it looks like nothing particularly special, and it might even be a wide bore, so I'm curious what the velocity is coming out of this barrel. It's not polished, but it looks okay. It's not got any visible burrs or defects. Otherwise, it's just a straight-up simple barrel with a hop-up rubber, hop-up, and an adjustment wheel on the bottom. In terms of the outer barrel, it looks like it's just a die-cast, probably, aluminum or zinc barrel. I don't have any means to tell one from the other, so I'm just going to leave these two together. In terms of the... interesting. In terms of the blowback unit, got some pretty strong return springs, but I don't know if the camera can see that. There is some flash on that nozzle assembly. That is from the factory stock, and it looks like there might even be some loose plastic here somewhere. Yeah, so this unit has some quality control issues. I've heard things about EMG pistols and broken nozzles. This solidifies my opinion that the person who mentioned these issues were right. It looks like there is, again, additional flash inside this nozzle, which seems like a minor performance hit, nothing too major. See if I can get that out. Yeah, I'm going to have to take a knife in there and trim it out, or something similar. Either way, pretty strong nozzle return springs and nothing particularly special there on the slide itself. I guess one other thing to note is it does have the nice cutout, and it does have an optic cut. Presumably you would just need to replace the same, or loosen the same screws to take the front and back posts off, which I will do probably in another video. I might not do a video about it at all. Either way, that's the EMG slide. On the WE slide, this thing has been beat to hell. There's the follower and the spring. Seems to be a little bit warped, I guess, over time. But this definitely feels stronger than this spring. Either way, barrel assembly. We've got something that's functionally identical. Let's talk about the outer barrel first. Outer barrel does appear to be identical spec. The cuts are identical on both sides. They're functionally the same length. Functionally, they do the exact same thing. They move in the same manner. They have the same width features. You can see just how worn out this one is. So, outer barrel looks exactly the same. Inner barrel, this is a Maple Leaf hop-up unit and Maple Leaf jet barrel that has some funky black magic. I don't know if it actually works better, but you know, one could try. Presumably, because this is just a barrel and it only interfaces with the hop-up unit, you could, in theory, use this barrel with this hop-up unit. Yeah, well, it engages properly. So, in theory, I could use this Maple Leaf barrel unit with the EMG. The feed ramp looks about the same shape. In terms of the hop-up rubber, it's harder to see with the black, all black construction on the EMG. I should probably swap these so that they're on the correct sides. The all black construction of the EMG makes it harder to see the contact patch versus the Maple Leaf, which has that triangular ramp. I'll try and get the light so you can see it, but it looks like it's a rectangular patch inside versus the triangular contact patch. So we'll have to see if that makes a tangible difference or not. Either way, it looks like WE spec aftermarket parts would fit just fine in the EMG. Now that we have this thing mostly to bits, let's talk about materials of construction. This feels heavier than this piece. Qualitatively, I could get a scale, I'm a little lazy, and we're talking about fractions of a gram difference. I think functionally, this component looks much better in quality control than this piece. On the WE, you can see lots of machining marks. You can see what is effectively die casting sprue or mold lines. Can't seem to get them to show up on camera, but just trust me when the WE looks like it's a cast part. For the EMG, it's a lot harder to tell whether it's a cast or machine part, and there are parts that are likely machined. The threads in the barrel, probably machined. The surfaces appear tighter in terms of quality control. The edges are sharper, though granted that could be an anomaly of age and wear. And the powder coating, or the paint coating, seems to be, again, more evenly distributed, and no blind spots on the inside. So they certainly do a better job of, I guess, treating these parts with the paint coatings as well. In terms of fitment, quick check. Yeah, it sits in there fine. It looks like it would engage, so let's put these back together. Okay, so those are the outer barrels and the spring guide and springs. It's functionally little difference. These look like they're both molded parts. You can see the mold lines. But the spring on this one feels a lot stiffer than the spring on this one. Again, that could be a function of age and wear, but at least in an out-of-the-box condition, this spring guide feels much more forceful than the spring on the WE. Let's look at the slides now. WE on top, EMG on the bottom. The blowback unit looks quite different. On the WE, you can see that piston head there. at the maximum extent of travel, which may be beyond where it's supposed to go, you can see that piston exposed. On the EMG, you can see that the bottom is completely covered or shielded, which actually looks like a good value add feature when comparing one to another. Why is that? Well, when you think about it, I'm going to have to get a pointing device of some description. I just had tweezers. You've got to be kidding me. I literally just had the tweezers right here. Oh, they're hiding among us. You've got the roller of the trigger group, or sorry, not the trigger group, the sear group. This guy rolling along this surface. You've got metal on metal contact all down the rails. And any chopped BBs from a misfeed could end up getting stuck in here, causing a misfeed and making it egregiously difficult to disassemble. Trust me, I have been there. Whereas on the EMG, it appears to be fully shielded so that any debris won't be able to easily make it behind the blowback unit, which would cause misfeed issues. I am, however, at this point going to start digging a little deeper because I also want to swap out these sights. You know what? We'll swap out the sights later. Let's take a look at how the WE versus the EMG blowback units compare, as well as how easy it is to disassemble and maintain these. So I'm going to put the screws on the respective side just to make sure I don't mix up parts. I actually didn't want to do that because I'm not trying to remove the sight. Let's just put that screw back in and pretend that this wasn't on camera. Okay, going back to the rear of the slides. This factory screw feels pretty tight, but I mean, brand new out of the box, I would expect it to be no less than properly torqued. These both appear to be self-tapping screws meant for plastic threads. Let's look at the WE unit first, because here's our reference point. I'm trying to remember how to get these out. There's a way. Is it just wiggle? Yeah, it's just wiggle. Alright, so my top rear sight fell out. The fake ejector fell out, but that's fine and expected. Just going to go ahead and put those back in so I don't mix them up. Alright, in terms of the blowback unit, I appear to have left the spring behind. No. I appear to be missing a spring. Interesting. I must have lost it at one point or just never put it in. That is strange. Either way, let's pull one of these springs out, take a look at the blowback unit itself, and that's the rear cap for looks. Here is the WE style blowback cylinder itself. There is a small spring-loaded valve inside. You really can't see it, but it is spring-loaded and inside. In terms of the piston head itself, just looks like a piece of rubber on a plastic backer. Nothing special. And this is definitely a die-cast aluminum or zinc piece. Okay, let's look at the EMG now. Again, my top sight just fell out. Are the top sights compatible? While we're on this topic, it would appear so. Yeah, it would appear that the top sights are compatible, though not the best fitment with one another. Either way, let's see how hard it is to get this piece out. Oh, yeah, it would help if I undo the other two screws that you would not find. Hey, they used metric screws. Kudos to them for that. Might as well take a look under the RMR optic as well, or the RMR cut optic. Definitely a cast piece of aluminum or zinc. You can see the sprue ejector pin holes, or the little dimples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Otherwise, it's nice and textured to blend in with the rest of it, and the unit just falls right out. Much less effort. The rear plate, functionally identical. You could easily swap the two parts. Can you? If I put this... Yep, you could swap them just fine. In terms of the blowback units, though, they do look quite different on the outside. Could they be mechanical substitutes for one another on the inside? The WE looks quite a bit thicker vertically, slightly shorter lengthwise, and that is one thing I don't know if I want to try, because, yeah, let's just not. Let's just not and say we did. In terms of the spring inside this follower, I'm just trying to figure out how to get this out, because it looks like it's hooked in here somewhere. Oh, I see what's going on. There is a small pin in here that retains this entire unit. So unlike this, where there's a non-captive spring that just sits in here, it's actually captive inside the cylinder. That is definitely much better. There's a lot less room for debris to get inside the cylinder or the piston or between the cylinder and the blowback unit, and the spring is captive versus non-captive where it might fall out during disassembly. So definitely points to the design for this one. I do feel like I'm getting my money's worth on this front. Let us see if we can remove that pin by gently pushing. Yep, okay, I guess right. So the knurling on that pin is on this side. Let us remove it with some pliers. My fingers are covered in grease at this stage. So there is a pin, but it is easy enough to remove with almost no force. And now this should just pop right out. So we've got the spring inside here. There's another pin there that presumably retains the spring as well as holds in the valve. Yep, there's the valve inside there. I'm not going to go too much further. I will note, however, the very non-traditional style EMG blowback unit uses this non-cylindrical piston. That is very curious. I wonder how easy it is to get parts for replacing these if and or when they break. And then again, you can see the flash on that. I wonder if I can just shave it off with a deburring tool. I will comment, however, that in trimming this plastic, it feels like there is glass fiber. I don't want to trim any of these parts just to find out if it's glass fiber or not. But the very brief amount of trimming here, it does feel glass fiber reinforced, so points there. Let's see how easy it is to reassemble, because this spring is captive. There's nowhere for it to really go, and it just pops right back in. Then we just slide that pin into home. Doesn't quite want to go. Yep, okay, I've got that in place. Now I just need to seat the pin. That is flush. Alright, spring is home. Yeah, I definitely appreciate the care and thoughtfulness in the design behind the EMG unit, because again, any debris here won't be caught in the WE style exposed piston head. So I guess let's reassemble this. Am I missing parts here? Let's put that there, that there, that there. Let us align these screws because they're machine threads and a little bit more forgiving. And just get them started. Interesting. Is that a phenomenon of the blowback unit not being installed correctly? Did I screw something up? That ejector, mock ejector, is a little bit loose. Either way, let's put the self-tapping screw that taps into the sight back in place. Alright. Yeah, it works just fine. It is a very interesting and curious piston cylinder design. It's non-cylindrical. I've never seen that before. And I might as well just start putting these back together in full. Is that engaged properly? Yep, okay, that works just fine. One other thing I'll note, there is a small flat. I don't know if the camera can see it. There is a small flat on this side of the spring guide hole, which looks like it keys in with the retaining clip. So you need to put it in the correct way and not this way, because aligned incorrectly it sticks out proud until you rotate it into position and it clicks in. So they do give you keying, which prevents, I guess, rotation of this spring guide and otherwise giving you some grief on the spring. But yeah, let's put this back together and just do a quick function check. Again, no BBs have entered the workbench at any time. Works just fine. Let's put this WE back together and call it a day. I will note that the WEs are a lot harder because you have to carefully rock the... You have to curve in the piston, or the cylinder, into position. So it definitely has some things to be desired about it. I'm surprised that I've lost one of the springs, but oh well. Let us do it this way. Oh, shit. Let us also put the back cap on. Gotta have that cosmetic feature. Gotta have that follower fall out every time. I don't know if it's just fitment because it was new, but the follower definitely didn't seem to fall out on the EMG model, whereas on the WE it's held in with hopes and prayers, thoughts and prayers, whatever. And the spring fell out when I was trying to get this aligned, so that's not going to work. You can definitely see the issues encountered here. I might actually stretch this spring out just a hair, just so it wants to stay. Be careful when you're stretching springs out because you can damage them. At least now the spring doesn't want to pop right out, so I can just drop it in directly. Small tips and tricks. Rear, sight, that's fine. Put the screw back in, do a function test, and we're good. I got the sight on, right? Yeah. Barrel, hop. Yep, okay, that's engaging properly. And again, you can... Oh, actually, I guess there is some keying here. Yeah. Okay, I was wrong. It's not on the EMG only, it's also on the WE. So, they did try and clone the WE dimensions with the EMG as close as possible, and it does seem to give you a lot of compatibility for parts. Function test time. No BBs. Always be safe. You can feel how tired that is. Just as a thought experiment here, if I take the base plate off to get it seated all the way up, does it perform better? Yeah. The tiredness because it's out of gas. Alright. Okay, that works. Even if I put the base plate on, does it still work? Or does it still cycle softly? No, it still works. Just a dry magazine. Okay, I think at this point I've gone top to bottom on both of these as much as possible. Functionally, they are Glock 19s. You can get any number of aftermarket parts for either of these, and they're mostly compatible. They have the same look and feel. However, the EMG has more Gucci features. The WE is a lower cost entry. It's definitely a lower cost entry, and it looks like a traditional Glock, but there are no trades, whereas the EMG does have salient arm trades. And in fact, while I'm at it, let me take this sticker off. Alright, so yeah, the EMG definitely has some good things going for it. I think my favorite bit about it is the blowback unit. I say that now, but I don't know how hard it's going to be to get replacement parts. I think this is going to be it for my first look, teardown, evaluation of assembly and design. I will at some point film a FPS test in terms of how the different magazines work interchangeably or not, just to see if it's even worth trying to use WE style magazines in the EMG style Glock 19. Other than the fitment issues, I am kind of excited to be able to use my WE style magazines interchangeably with my new and improved pistol. So, other than that, I think that's it for this video. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment. Hit that notification bell after you subscribe, because that's what the algorithm wants you to see. I don't monetize this channel, I don't get any money out of it, but I do really appreciate the fact that people actually take the time to watch these videos. Other than that, if you are Canadian, and whether or not you're into airsoft, read up about C21. This is Members Bill C21. It affects airsoft and has some interesting implications from a civic standpoint in terms of division of power between federal, provincial, and municipal governments. Either way, that's my 5-second spiel about C21. Look forward to future videos. I am going to do one about the classic Army M142 microgun, the big thing with the spinny barrel that's kind of expensive. I am going to do a teardown like this on that in the near future. So, subscribe if you want to see that. Otherwise, peace out.